Ozzy Osbourne is a rock legend known for his wild personality, powerful voice, and long career in heavy metal music. From his early days as the lead singer of Black Sabbath to becoming a successful solo artist and reality TV star, Ozzy has always been a strong presence in music and pop culture. Fans have followed him through fame, chaos, and many comebacks. But recently, Ozzy opened up about his serious health problems, and what he shared was deeply emotional. Before the fame and wild stage moments, Ozzy, whose real name is John Michael Osbourne, grew up in Aston, a working-class area in Birmingham, England. Born in 1948, he was one of 6 kids raised in a small, crowded home. Life was tough, and school was hard for Ozzy. He struggled with undiagnosed dyslexia and constant bullying. But everything changed when he heard the Beatles' song, She Loves You. Music lit a spark in him that grew into a fire. In his late teens, he teamed up with guitarist Tony Iommi, bassist Geezer Butler, and drummer Bill Ward to form a band. They first called themselves Earth, but later changed the name to Black Sabbath to match their darker, heavier sound. Their music didn't follow trends. It created a whole new style. When Black Sabbath released their first album in 1970, many people didn't know what to think. But Ozzy's unique and haunting voice, paired with Tony's heavy guitar riffs, struck a chord. Black Sabbath quickly became the face of a new genre, heavy metal. Albums like Paranoid, Master of Reality, and Volume 4 helped shape rock history. On stage, Ozzy was wild, unpredictable, and full of energy, but behind the scenes, he was struggling with drug and alcohol abuse. As his fame grew, so did his addictions. In 1979, the band fired him due to his behavior. But instead of ending his career, this became a new beginning. With support from Sharon, who later became his wife and manager, Ozzy launched a solo career. His first album, Blizzard of Oz, came out in 1980 and featured classic hits like Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley. He formed a new band, including talented young guitarist Randy Rhoads, and his solo career took off. Even though his music career soared, Ozzy's personal life was still chaotic. He continued to battle addiction and face tragedies, including the death of Randy Rhoads in a 1982 plane crash. Ozzy was devastated. His drinking worsened, and there were arrests, hospital stays, and public meltdowns. But he never stopped making music. Sharon stood by him, helped him get treatment, and kept him going. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Ozzy released more albums and went on tours. His song No More Tears became another fan favorite. A new generation discovered him through MTV, late-night shows, and later, the reality show The Osbournes. On TV, fans saw a softer side of him. Funny, confused, and human. But his slurred speech and shaky movements weren't just quirks. They were early signs of serious health issues. Over time, it became clear that something was wrong. He cancelled more shows, interviews were harder to understand, and fans began to worry. In 2019, Ozzy revealed he had suffered a fall at home that made his old injuries worse. Then, in 2020, he shared that he had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a serious condition that affects movement and worsens over time. It was a heartbreaking moment. The man known for his unstoppable energy was now dealing with a disease that was slowly taking that energy away. Despite this, Ozzy kept trying. He released new music and talked about going on tour, even though many doubted he could do it. He traveled to Switzerland for treatment and leaned on his family for support. But the public appearances became fewer. Sharon gave occasional updates, but Ozzy mostly stayed silent. He looked weaker in photos. Rumors spread that he might never return to the stage. Still, Ozzy never gave up hope. He said that music gave him a reason to live. He didn't care about money or fame anymore. He just wanted to connect with people through music. But each attempt to return was met with more health problems. Shows were announced and then cancelled. Fans hoped for a miracle, but the truth was hard to ignore. Ozzy was slowing down. He began spending more time at home. The man who once performed in front of thousands was now taking small steps around his house, surrounded by medical machines. In early 2025, After years of silence and speculation, Ozzy finally spoke. There was no stage or loud music, just Ozzy at home, surrounded by memories of his incredible life. He looked older and more fragile, but there was still a spark in his eyes. Behind the scenes, it turned out Ozzy had been planning something special. Not a big tour or new album, but a final performance, a meaningful goodbye on his own terms. He had been quietly rehearsing with close friends and longtime bandmates. People who knew him well said it wasn't about putting on a big show. It was about ending things with dignity and love for his fans. Though he could barely walk without help and had to take many medications, Ozzy still wanted to sing, to give something back to the people who had supported him for decades. And that's what he was preparing to do. One final moment in the spotlight, not as the wild Prince of Darkness, but as a man who lived a wild, painful and extraordinary life, and wanted to say thank you before saying goodbye. He looked noticeably different. The energy that once defined him had faded. His movements were slower, more careful, and his face carried the weight of everything he had endured. This wasn't the Prince of Darkness from the stage. This was a man at the end of a battle he had fought for far too long. For years, Ozzy had kept much of his condition private. Whispers of health issues had circulated since his neck injury in 2019, which left him with serious nerve damage. Later came the confirmation that fans had feared: Parkinson's disease. After multiple surgeries, setbacks, and physical struggles, he stopped performing live altogether. Fans clung to hope, but each cancelled appearance told its own quiet story. And this time, there was no denying the truth. Ozzy laid it all out. He shared how much his health had declined. Daily life had become difficult. The pain was constant. He could no longer move freely, no longer stand for long periods. Despite working with doctors and undergoing therapy, he knew he would never return to the way things were. He had pushed through as much as humanly possible, but the limits were now clear. Still, through all of it, there was one thing he couldn't let go of: his connection to the fans. For more than 5 decades, they had been with him. Through the early years in Birmingham, the chaos of Black Sabbath, the solo tours, the scandals, and the comebacks. Now, in this final stretch, he felt he owed them something. One last performance. Not a farewell tour, not a string of shows. Just one final night. One goodbye, not just from the stage, but from everything. Doctors warned him it would be a risk. Even one show could be dangerous. But Ozzy was determined. He wanted to say goodbye on his own terms, in front of the people who mattered most. And then came the photo. The one that broke the internet. Ozzy lying in a hospital bed, pale, eyes closed, surrounded by machines. People asked, "Is this goodbye?" But that wasn't the full story. The photo was months old, taken after one of his surgeries. He was stable now, but still fragile. And he knew it. Ozzy Osbourne finally broke the silence. No theatrics. Just honesty. He admitted what fans had long feared: his body couldn't take much more. He was in pain every day. Walking was a challenge. Singing was harder than ever. But then, almost out of nowhere, he said something no one was prepared for. "I want to do one last show. Just one. Not for the industry. Not for a record. For the fans. I want it to be my goodbye, forever." Those words hit like thunder. After years of uncertainty, years of hoping and worrying, Ozzy had spoken. He wasn't planning a comeback. He was planning a farewell. It would be the final chapter. One last concert. One last time to stand under the lights. One last scream into the dark. Black Sabbath announced what is expected to be their final concert with the original lineup: Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward. The show, titled Back to the Beginning, will take place on July 5th at Villa Park in Birmingham, England, their hometown. It will be the first time in 20 years the original members will perform together. The concert will also feature a lineup of metal and rock legends, including Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, Gojira, Hailstorm, Alice in Chains, Lamb of God, Anthrax, Mastodon, and a special supergroup led by Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine. Ozzy will perform a short solo set before joining Black Sabbath for the final performance. Given the band members' age and Ozzy's health, this truly is their final farewell. The world responded. Fans, musicians, and critics expressed deep respect and sorrow. For many, it felt like the end of an era. Social media flooded with messages of gratitude and memories. Ozzy's raw honesty in confronting his illness resonated. Parkinson's disease is a relentless condition, and few public figures speak about it so openly. By sharing his struggle, Ozzy brought new attention to the realities of living with neurological disorders, and the strength it takes to face them. Behind the scenes, preparations for the concert intensified. Every detail was planned with care. Adjustments were made for Ozzy's physical limitations, shorter set times, seated performances, safety measures. It wasn't about scale. It was about meaning. The goal was to honor his legacy, to celebrate his journey, and to provide closure, not just for Ozzy, but for the millions who had followed him through the decades. Sharon Osbourne, his wife and longtime manager, remained at his side. Her commitment to his health and legacy was unwavering. She helped organize the show, coordinate medical care, and preserve the spirit of both Black Sabbath and Ozzy's solo work. All profits from the concert will go to Parkinson's research and local children's hospitals, causes deeply personal to Ozzy and his family. For Ozzy himself, the months ahead aren't just about the final show. They are about reflection, about peace, about time with family. After a lifetime on the road and in the spotlight, this is a chance to slow down, to breathe. The announcement has sparked broader conversations across the music world. About aging. About vulnerability. About when to step off the stage. Ozzy's story reminds us that even legends are human. Fragile. Brave. Full of contradictions. And as the date of the concert draws near, the world watches and waits. This isn't just another show. This is a goodbye. Forever. A closing chapter in the life of a man who changed the course of music history. And whatever happens next, Ozzy Osbourne's legacy is secure. This final act only makes it more powerful.